Hey there, thanks for joining me for the Daily Word. Today we are in 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, and if you want a summary of it, it's Christ is returning, so get your life in gear. What you see in Paul is a concern that it may be a concern that there were people in this church who were like, Christ is returning, so I don't need to work. I don't need to worry about that. And he makes it clear that for Christians, he gave them an example of a disciplined, hardworking life. And he said they're to follow that example, that we're to work hard, so much so. Look at verse 10. No, look at verse 10. For even when we were with you, we used to give you this order: if anyone is not willing to work, he's not to eat either. That it is significant that we as Christians do not waste our lives, that we work hard, that we live disciplined, ordered, good lives in this world, that we work hard, that we show that Jesus is our boss with our lives, that we work for him. And so as he concludes this letter, I think after asking for prayer and asking and then pointing this out to them and saying, hey, you got to make sure that you're not coddling people who aren't working. He concludes, notice this is really interesting. He says, if anyone doesn't obey this command, I have nothing to do with them. And then he corrects himself, but then he comes back and just says, well, actually, I don't want you to regard him as an enemy, but you need to admonish him as a brother. That it is significant for Christians that we obey what the Bible says, that we show our love for Christ by our obedience to Christ, and he tells us what he wants us to be and how he wants us to live in his word. And so one last thing, in verse 17, Paul says, I write this greeting with my own hand. And this is the distinguishing mark in every letter. This is the way I write. Well, why does he say that? Well, remember chapter 2, verse 1, or verse 2, that you not be quickly shaken from your composure or be disturbed either by a spirit or a message or a letter as if from us, to the effect that the day of the Lord has already come. So even in the earliest days of Christianity, there were letters that had Paul's name on them, but really weren't from him at all. And so there were these fake letters, and Paul's like, hey, I just want you to know that this is the way I write. This is the distinguishing mark. You can trust this letter came from me. So I hope that was helpful today. And thank you for joining me. If that was helpful, please subscribe, please like, and we'll see you next time.